On the night of her 8th wedding anniversary, Elena Brooks raised her glass to the man everyone believed had saved her family. Marcus Hale had paid for her mother's heart surgery. He had helped her younger brother enter rehabilitation. He had given Elena a beautiful home when she had almost nothing. To Marcus, her mother said, "The man who was there when we needed him most." Everyone applauded. Then Elena's brother Jamie entered the restaurant carrying an old, broken phone. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. Marcus stopped smiling. Jamie placed the phone in front of Elena and pressed play. The video showed a party from 8 years earlier, the night a cyclist was nearly killed in a hit-and-run accident. Elena watched Marcus climb into the driver's seat. Then she heard the voice of Daniel Reed, the man she had once loved. "Marcus, give me the keys. You can barely stand." Elena could not breathe. Daniel had confessed to causing that accident. Daniel had gone to prison. And Elena had spent 8 years believing he had destroyed her family. Jamie leaned closer and whispered, "Daniel didn't ruin our lives." He looked across the table at Marcus. "He took the blame for the man you married." 8 years earlier, Elena Brooks believed love was the one honest thing in her life. Her mother was sick. Her younger brother, Jamie, was always in trouble. Money disappeared faster than she could earn it at the pharmacy. But every night, Daniel Reed waited outside with 2 coffees and the same promise. "We'll figure it out." Daniel was not rich. He repaired cars at a small garage and lived above the shop. Still, he made Elena feel safe in a way money never had. Then came the accident. Jamie's car struck a cyclist on a dark country road. The cyclist survived, but with permanent injuries. Jamie was found unconscious in the passenger seat. Daniel was standing beside the driver's door when police arrived. He confessed before Elena reached the hospital. She slapped him in the parking lot. "How could you drive after drinking?" Daniel did not defend himself. He only said, "Take care of Jamie." He received 8 years in prison. 3 months later, Elena learned her mother needed urgent heart surgery. Insurance would not cover everything. Jamie's best friend, Marcus Hale, offered to pay. Marcus came from a respected family. His father owned several dealerships and had connections everywhere. He had been at the party before the crash, but claimed he left early. There was one condition he never said aloud. He wanted Elena. At first, she refused his gifts. Then her mother collapsed in the kitchen, and the hospital demanded a deposit Elena could not find. Marcus paid it that afternoon. A year later, Elena married him. People said she was lucky. Marcus bought her a house, helped Jamie enter rehab, and never let her forget any of it. "You chose stability," he would say whenever she looked unhappy. "That's what adults do." Daniel wrote from prison 12 times. Elena returned every letter unopened. She told herself a man who truly loved her would not have destroyed a stranger's life and then asked for forgiveness. But on the 8th anniversary of the accident, Jamie arrived at her house shaking. He had been sober for 2 years. That night, he carried an old phone wrapped in a plastic bag. "I found this inside Dad's storage unit," he said. Their father had died 6 months earlier. He had worked as an insurance investigator and kept everything. The phone belonged to Jamie. Its screen was cracked, but one video still played. It showed the party before the crash. Marcus was drinking. Daniel took away his keys. Minutes later, Marcus shoved him against a car. Then the camera fell sideways. A voice shouted, "Jamie can't even stand. Put him in the back." The next image was Marcus climbing into the driver's seat. Elena watched the video twice. "No," she whispered. "Daniel confessed." Jamie began to cry. "He confessed because Marcus's father threatened us. Dad knew. He said if Daniel talked, they would make sure Mom never got surgery, and I would go to prison for drugs they planted in the car." Elena felt the room narrow around her. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't remember. Not until rehab. Dad made me promise to stay quiet." A car door closed outside. Marcus was home early. Jamie grabbed Elena's wrist. "There's more," he said. "Daniel gets out tomorrow." Then the front door opened. Marcus walked into the kitchen smiling until he saw Jamie. The smile disappeared. "What is he doing here?" Elena placed the phone on the table. "Tell me who is driving." Marcus looked at the screen and went still. Only for a second. Then he laughed. "An old broken video?" Jamie was drunk. Daniel confessed. "A court accepted it. You were driving." "Elena, think carefully about what you're doing." That sentence frightened her more than shouting would have. For 8 years, Marcus had never needed to raise his voice. He controlled people with favors, debts, and quiet reminders. He stepped closer. "My family paid for your mother's surgery. We cleaned up Jamie's life. We gave you everything. You bought our silence. I protected you." Elena finally understood the cruel shape of her marriage. Marcus had not rescued her family after the accident. He had created the disaster, then charged them gratitude for surviving it. She reached for the phone. Marcus caught her arm. Jamie moved between them, and Marcus shoved him into the counter. The phone fell and cracked open across the floor. Marcus stared at the pieces, breathing hard. Then he smiled again. "Now there's nothing." But Jamie had already uploaded the video. Their father had taught him one useful lesson: never keep the only copy. Police arrested Marcus 2 days later, not because of the video alone, but because it reopened everything. The cyclist remembered a silver watch on the driver's wrist. Marcus wore that watch in photographs from the party. A bartender confirmed Daniel had left in a taxi after the argument, then returned on foot when Jamie called for help. The worst truth came from Marcus's father. Facing charges for obstruction, he admitted that Daniel had been offered a deal. Confessed to reckless driving, and Elena's mother would receive surgery. Refuse, and the Hale family would report drugs found in Jamie's car and use their influence to make the case disappear around him. Daniel chose the confession. He believed he would serve 18 months. Instead, Marcus's father pushed for the maximum sentence to close the case permanently. Elena waited outside the prison the morning Daniel was released. The gate opened, and he walked out carrying a cardboard box. He looked older, thinner, and more guarded than the man she remembered. When he saw her, he stopped. "I know," she said before he could speak. "I know everything." Daniel looked toward the road. "You shouldn't be here. I returned your letters." "I know." "I married him." "I know that too." Each answer landed without anger. That made it worse. Elena began to cry. "I thought you ruined my family." Daniel's voice was quiet. "I was trying to keep it alive." She wanted to hug him, but she understood that love did not give her the right to cross every distance. So she stayed where she was. "I'm sorry." Daniel nodded once. Then a black car stopped nearby. Marcus's father stepped out, pale and exhausted. He had come to offer Daniel money in exchange for silence about the pressure used to obtain the confession. Daniel opened the envelope, looked at the check, and tore it in half. "You took 8 years," he said. "You don't get to decide what they were worth." A reporter waiting across the street recorded everything. By evening, the video was everywhere. For years, the Hale family had used money to control the truth. Now the same public image they had built so carefully became the reason they could no longer hide. Marcus was convicted of leaving the scene of an accident, obstruction, and assault. His father lost the dealerships he had spent his life protecting. Several former employees came forward with stories of intimidation, false documents, and settlements designed to buy silence. The family that had controlled everyone with money finally learned that money could not control everything. But Elena did not feel victorious. Justice punished Marcus. It did not return Daniel's 8 years. It did not erase the letters she had sent back. And it could not restore the young people they had once been. Daniel returned to the old garage, but he no longer knew whether he wanted to stay. Customers recognized him from the news. Some called him a hero. Others stared at him as if prison had permanently marked him. Elena visited once a week. At first, Daniel barely spoke to her. She did not ask him to forgive her. She helped organize the paperwork for his wrongful conviction claim. She found a therapist who worked with former prisoners. She brought coffee and left when he needed silence. Months passed. One evening, Daniel found her sitting outside the garage beneath the broken sign they had once planned to replace together. "Why do you keep coming?" he asked. Elena looked at him honestly. "Because I loved you and life was unfair to us. Then I stopped trusting that love when things became difficult." Daniel sat beside her. "I lied to you too. To protect me. It was still a lie." For the first time, neither of them tried to make the past simpler than it was. Daniel eventually received compensation from the state. He used part of it to reopen the garage and create an apprenticeship program for people leaving prison. Jamie became his first employee. Elena divorced Marcus and moved into a small apartment near her mother. She worked, attended therapy, and learned how to build a life that was not based on owing anyone. A year after Daniel's release, Elena came to the garage carrying 2 coffees. Just like he once had. "I'm not asking for our old life back," she said. Daniel took 1 cup. "Good." "I don't want it." Her face fell. Then he smiled. "I want a new one. Slower this time." They did not begin again with a wedding. They began with dinner. Then another. Then long conversations about anger, guilt, prison, marriage, and the years they could never recover. 2 years later, Daniel proposed outside the pharmacy where he used to wait for her after work. Elena laughed and cried at the same time. "Are you sure?" Daniel looked at her and said, "No, but I've learned that being sure isn't the same as being brave." She said yes. Life had been deeply unfair to them. Karma did not magically repair everything. It simply brought the truth into the light and gave them another choice. This time, no one chose for them. And perhaps that was the real happy ending. Not getting back the life they lost, but finally being free to build the life they still had. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional stories about love, truth, karma, and second chances.